Hey guys, this is Jay Calder with JAYONBOXING here giving you a preview and prediction for Juan Estrada versus Jesse Bam Rodriguez. And just a bit of a heads up, I am a little bit under the weather, so if you hear that in my voice, you're not just imagining it, but want to get this pick out there for you, so we trek on nonetheless. And as always, of course, this is just my take. Your predictions can be left down in the comments section below. Your thoughts on this fight, everything there, love to hear it all. But before we get started, of course, please like, subscribe, share, follow, all that stuff. I do greatly appreciate it, and it definitely helps out the channel. And a little bit of fight info here. This will be Estrada taking on Rodriguez as mentioned, and this will be at the Footprint Center in Phoenix, Arizona, airing live on DAZN in the junior bantamweight division with Estrada's Ring Magazine and WBC junior bantamweight titles on the line. Well, just before the halfway point of the year, we get a potential Fight of the Year candidate. No complaints from me. This is one of those fights you're almost surprised hasn't happened by now, but better late than never, especially when it's the sort of fight that might be insane. Bam is having to move back up to 115 pounds for this fight, with Estrada's gold on the line as mentioned, so it already has some stakes, but much more, this is really about who the man is at about 115 pounds and lower, because make no mistake about it, the dude that wins this fight is the dude in the lower weight classes. So does the old guard in Estrada continue to hold it down, or does Rodriguez take out yet another big name en route to making his own mark on the sport? It's close to a pick'em fight in many respects, so those questions obviously remain hard to answer. But before we get into the breakdown here, let's look at some of the other major questions about this encounter. For starters, how much does Juan Estrada have left? Now, this isn't to say that Estrada is washed. No, not really. But we have to look at the facts here. Estrada has been in some wars. He's also been inactive as of late. Since the beginning of 2022, Estrada has fought just twice and not at all in 2023 or 2024 thus far. It'll be about 18 months out of the ring come fight night with Rodriguez, who is not a guy you want to try and shake rust off against. For smaller fighters, that peak hits you quickly, and fighters seem to age even more with inactivity, so you're looking at a couple of instances here where Estrada might have to be concerned. You couple that with his wars, and you have to at least ask the question of what Estrada has left in the tank. But I would also ask, will the activity of Rodriguez hurt or help? On the flip side to that initial question is Rodriguez has been quite the busy fighter. In that same time frame since 2022, Rodriguez has fought 5 times, with Estrada being his 6th encounter. Conventional wisdom will say that the younger, fresher fighter should benefit from staying active and getting in the rounds. Still, Rodriguez has averaged 10 rounds per fight in that stretch and has been fighting high-quality opposition to boot. Again, you would think this benefits him. You just hope he's recovering and getting his body to heal in time when he's probably taking on the biggest threat to his reign thus far as an undefeated fighter. You certainly hope he's getting enough recovery time in between bouts. And finally here, who handles the power better? You know, for the lighter weight, both guys can bang for sure. They aren't just brawlers that can only pop, don't get me wrong, but they can bang. Estrada has been dropped, but never stopped. He also might be the naturally bigger man. Bam hasn't been dropped, to the best of my knowledge anyway, but is moving up once again. So you have to keep that in mind, and it certainly keeps things interesting. It's also a different kind of power. Estrada seems to have a bit more in terms of heavy hands, but Bam throws with a bit more explosiveness. And while neither guy is just an out-and-out puncher, the power and how they handle it could come into play in terms of who wins, so it certainly keeps it interesting there. So, all that said, let's get into this pick and break this fight down. Starting with the champion, for Estrada to win, you want to make him feel the weight. Bam can make 115 pounds comfortably enough, but he isn't a big 115-pounder. He's about the same height with a bit more reach, but you have the more filled-out frame. That means you want to use your size in moments to drain Bam and make the size difference matter. You don't want to linger on the inside, but when you are there, lean on him, tie him up, smother his work if necessary, make him feel that weight. If he's trying to come forward and be more aggressive, press him back and let him feel your strength as well. Make him know he's the smaller man. When you are on the inside, don't be afraid to dig to the body. Don't be reckless and leave yourself open up top, but dig quickly while in close and then kind of reset. Aside from just outright hurting him, that body attack can sap some of his speed and explosiveness, making him less effective down the stretch. So bully him when inside, make him feel that weight, and dig to the body to really make it count. I would also say don't sit in the pocket. Well, you may have to lean on him and dig to the body inside. I don't necessarily feel like that should be your entire fight plan. At your core, you are a counterpuncher. Against a young, aggressive fighter, you should be looking to take just as much time sharpshooting your man. You want to move side to side, set some of those traps, and then get his timing down to fire off some of those harder blows to make them count. You particularly want to time Bam's jab because he throws a good one. If you can get a read on that, it will make him getting inside all the more difficult. If he does manage to get inside or lunges a bit more, like I said, tire him out, land quick, but then turn him and reset. Bam's fight is to get in that phone booth eventually. Don't let him get down that road so easily. A shot to look for in those moments when Bam is looking to close that distance is the uppercut. You throw a great one, and if he overcommits, you can catch him with it and make him pay. So just be patient as you set those traps. Make sure to reset if you do get inside after doing a little bit of work to the body, and of course, walk him into that uppercut. And finally, I would say bank the early rounds. As an older fighter, you can't afford to get off to a slow start, especially with someone like Bam who likes to finish strong. So for Estrada, you want to be smart, box and move, and make sure you do enough to take those early frames. It's not that you want to coast in those latter rounds, but you don't want to bet on them either. Again, you're a bit older. Assuming you will have enough left to best a young gun in the final third of a fight is risky. You want to build enough of a lead that Bam maybe chases too much late, makes mistakes, and you can capitalize while being smart and effective as opposed to having to have such an high output to catch up with him. Some of this can be done by throwing quick combinations, not always focusing on power. Switching up the speed at least can be beneficial. Then, as mentioned, if you're landing to the body inside and resetting, countering from outside, you're finding different ways to stay composed while scoring. So be sure to get a good fast start, change up the speed, put those combinations together, and you should be successful. Now switching over to the challenger, for Rodriguez to when you want to use those angles. While you're known for your attacking style, your combinations, which you have, you should also be known for just how well you like to set all that up. One way you do that is with the jab, which we'll get into in a bit, but another way is by throwing in some beautiful angles. As a southpaw, it makes them all the more effective. You're already giving them a unique look. When you step over or to the side and then you throw that power shot, it's even harder to read and block. You also like your combinations, but with a counter puncher in front of you, you don't want to just stand there as a stationary target. You want to be moving and then throwing those shots. You want to make those little pivots or side steps or step overs as you're letting your hands go. It allows you to land without being tagged as often in return. This will also help you vary up the speed and launch angle of your shots, again, making it harder to read. The more difficulty you add for Estrada, the better, obviously. So take those extra steps or move in a bit closer and turn them with your angles, make them pay, and switch up those shots as you throw them. I would also say jab your way inside. If you're Rodriguez, you have a few reasons you want to get the jab going. You have a bit more reach on Estrada. Simple. Use it with a straight, stiff jab. It's going to help set up a lot of your work anyway, so get it going. It's also going to help you break them down and get inside a bit more, which is where you like to work. You don't want to get so close you smother your work, but you want to be in close enough to get those combinations going well. You also want that jab working because it backs Estrada up into more of a straight line. Estrada wants to move, so you want to use the stick as a way of controlling that movement. You can jab while cutting off the ring and get him on the ropes or cornered. Then you can unleash with more power and combinations, forcing more of an exchange out of Estrada, which I think can benefit you if done well. So pump that jab out there and bust them up, set up your power shots, and press them back into the ropes. And finally, pile on the pressure. As always, you're not a reckless fighter, but I do think it benefits you to ramp up the activity in this fight as the rounds progress. The sooner the better in a lot of ways. I think Estrada wants a strong start, and you can't let him get too many of those earlier rounds. So make sure you're pushing out that jab, stepping into your work, and giving him different angles. As the rounds wear on, the combination punching and inside fighting will need to pick up. Just make it hard for Estrada to rest or to breathe or to get that second wind that a lot of older fighters need. Again, Estrada hasn't been very active at all. You have. So again, you're in fighting shape. Go through the gears and see if he still has the ability to do the same. As the fight gets longer, if Estrada is staying still a bit more, your fresher, more prime work should be able to get there more as Estrada begins to make mistakes. Again, this isn't a license to be reckless, but it's about setting the stage for your style. Work your way inside, press him back, and push harder the longer the fight goes. If you can get that going along with that piston jab and the angles I mentioned, you should have some success in this fight. Now, in terms of my pick here, Estrada certainly is a live one in this one, but I am rocking with Rodriguez. I think he starts well enough, working the jab and his angles, getting his reads, and in those early to middle rounds is where I think he starts to find his rhythm. Estrada will begin to tire as the pressure builds from Bam, who lands hard left hands and works up and down stairs with those combinations. As Estrada really begins to fade, he makes more mistakes, and Bam lands bigger shots and more thorough combinations to really emphasize his point. I think Estrada is savvy enough to survive into the late rounds, but they might get ugly in moments as Bam finishes the fight strong and well in control. Winner, Jesse Rodriguez via unanimous decision. And looking at the betting odds here, you have Estrada a pretty sizable underdog at a plus 320 with Rodriguez coming in at a minus 440. A 3-1 dog for Estrada is a bit disrespectful in my opinion, but a decent opportunity for someone backing him and his experience. In general, even if you just kind of think it's a pick'em fight, those are decent odds to at least look at. 4-1 for Bam isn't something I would look at, however. I think he wins, but I also think Estrada has a legit shot, so no bueno for me. That's just too wide in a fight that I do think is a bit closer to a pick'em. I don't have the over-under yet. Of course, I will pin it in the top comment in the comments section once I do find it, but in any event, for now, those are your odds. And my prediction record as of this recording is 31-14 with 15 exact, but let me know your thoughts, your bets, your picks, all that good stuff down in the comments. And of course, please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and follow. Check out all the social media here. And be sure to visit JAYONBOXING.com for schedule, results, betting odds, rankings, and more. And as always, until next time.